Yeah, what's up, y'all? Rod doing Rod. It's been a while. You know, when I tell people my name, Rod, I over enunciate the D. I say Rod because if I don't, they'll think my name is Ron. Maybe I look like a Ron more than a Rod. I don't know. But I once went to this, I think I told you guys this. I went to this, not a lecture, this course, this workshop, because I just felt certain things were holding me back. And one of those things was pretty much just putting myself out there and being more extroverted. And but it ended up being sort of like a public speaking workshop, which in retrospect I never needed. I've been comfortable with public speaking, even though I'm an introvert, since I was very, very young. I mean, because I've been performing since I was a kid, you know, rapping and whatever else. So in hindsight, I didn't need that, but it did tell me one or two things that I thought was valuable. One of them was when he asked my name in front of the class and I said it, he said, when you say your name, we might think your name is Ron or Roz instead of Rod, R-O-D. And one thing that I realized since then, yes, he was right, but also I just because of my accent and the way my mouth is shaped and how I speak, the D just doesn't come. The D doesn't come. That's what she said, right? The D just doesn't the D sound doesn't get enunciated very well, no matter what. So I sometimes I even say Rod, R-O-D, but maybe I should just start saying Roderick. I probably never will, but it's something to think about. You know, Rod. My name is Rod. Anyway, so I got a bunch of things here that I want to talk about, and I don't want to forget any of them. This episode after a very long time is brought to you by two things. The first thing this episode is brought to you by is a big shout out to my guy Anthony Jackson. So my British, partner, Anthony Jackson, that I met out here in Qatar. He's not in Qatar right now. I'm sure one day he'll make his way back, or he'll flourish out there in Ghana or the parts of Africa that he's going to end up being in. So we were talking and I told him, I said, dude, you have a rare gift for insight. You're a person who can really listen to people and then distill that information to important insight for the person that you're speaking to, and it ends up being informative and instructive and not about him, not the kind of advice where someone kind of makes it about them. And I just feel he definitely has a gift for this. And even telling him that was something I didn't know how to put into words for a while. But as I was talking to him, usually when I speak to him, I end up leaving with something valuable to think about myself going forward. And this time what it was is we were just speaking and he said, I was telling him just kind of a little bit of challenges I might be experiencing. And I can't remember exactly what I said, but I remember he said to me, "You're creative." That's all he said. He's like, "You're creative." And I was like, oh shit, that's right. I keep forgetting, not that I'm a creative, I keep forgetting that if you don't create as a creative, you're going to get stuffed, not in a good way. You're gonna choke, you're gonna get full, and you need that release, you need that outlet, so you need to make sure you're creating, or it's gonna poison you from the inside. So he was like, you're creative. And we didn't continue talking on that level. We were talking about other things, but the fact that he said that, it was just like exactly what I needed to hear. And sometimes you have friends in your life who you don't talk to them a whole lot. You don't talk to them often. You may not even see them and stuff, but for some reason there's a certain energy and connection that exists between you, where between you and that person, you just can sense certain things about them and things that they need, just important things. And so shout out to him, man. Love you, bro. So this episode is brought to you by that, my man Anthony, and it's also brought to you by being a stay-at-home dad. Woo 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 woo. So we're in I'm gonna call this day 2, because Yesterday was the first day of school, and I will not be teaching this year. After 17 years of teaching, I won't be teaching. 17 years of teaching, 25 or 24 years in the schools, pretty much working in schools, in conjunction with schools, stuff like that. So I never really left. And even this year, I'll probably be doing some kind of coverage or subbing or something like that, interning, I don't know. But yeah, yesterday was the first day of school. It went well. And today's the second day of school. So I have been home doing stay-at-home dad things, cleaning, cooking, preparing snacks, staying up on things that are important for the kids as the school year commences, and not commences, as the school year opens up. Anyway, so as the school year starts, and that requires a different skill set than I actually have. So you would think that it's as easy as sitting home and doing what you want, and you do get to, obviously I have a different level of freedom, but it also gives you an appreciation for things that people do that we kind of just don't consider. We don't consider the skill, the art, and the science behind these things. For instance, I was cleaning the whole house, and I was cleaning from top to bottom. I went and got the supplies, the bucket, had the mop, had literally seven different types of cleaning substances and everything. And since I'm a person who likes to do things right, as I was cleaning, if it didn't look clean in a way I felt it was supposed to look clean, I would just get annoyed. I'm like, damn, it's cleaner, I'm assuming, because some kind of soap-based substance went on this surface, but it can't be. It's not the right substance for this surface. So I would get in ChatGPT, and I'm like, what's the best for wood? What if I need to now switch to metal or fabric? Is there something I can use that kind of can be for all three, and all this kind of stuff, right? Just because I'm like that about everything. So as I'm looking at the answers, it's telling me like a good kind of approach to cleaning all of this stuff. If you want to maybe start with the floor, then go to the toilets and everything. When I say clean, I mean, well, I'm scrubbing the toilets, I'm sweeping every corner, then I'm mopping, then I'm, we don't have a vacuum right now, but I would be vacuuming, dusting, glass cleaning, all of that stuff. And it just made me think, like, when it comes to this kind of stuff, when it comes to laboring and things like that, there is an art that needs to be respected also, and a science actually, to know. It was telling me things like get the rag and fold it into eighths so you can use this part without getting the stuff on the other part, and you can use this part for dry and this part for wet and everything. And I wouldn't have thought of these things. And I mean, I've cleaned my whole life, but not in that way. It's 3 floors, so I'm not humble bragging. It's I don't pay for it. The school pays for it anyway. But so it's a lot of space, and I'm having to clean this. So it's I want to do it right, and you can't just do it willy-nilly. There's an approach to it. So I have respect for that, because when it comes to, even mopping, like, I'm like, why are there streaks? But when my nanny did it, it looks like she did my nanny. I know I sound so fucking bougie. Anyway, when she did it, there were no streaks, and I felt like I did the same thing she did. And, so, and then I don't know. It's like there's an approach to anything. There's a sign, dude, like when my bike was messed up, we call these bike guys, this African guy, and usually 1 or 2 comes. It's a Kenyan, I believe. And because people say African, like, it's a continent. So he's Kenyan, I believe, and he comes and he does the bike repairs, and to me it's magic because I don't have that skill at all. So like they say, skills and technology and science that you don't understand might as well be magic. It's not distinguishable. So he comes and he boop, doo, 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 doo. And sometimes he's looking at me like, damn, bro, you don't have any skills, like you die in the apocalypse, and then he's like, so the last time he tried to teach me how to do it, and he's showing me how to do it, and I'm like, yeah, word, and I'm really paying attention very hard. And by the time he got to like the fourth or fifth step, I realized I was not going to be able to do this. So I know I'm going to call him every time I have a problem with the bike, because I can't do the first thing. But, you got to respect anybody. I mean, these guys, they come and they clean the AC, not clean the AC, they fix the AC. They fix wires and all types of stuff in the walls and everything. I'm like, God damn. I can't do anything. I don't know how to do anything. I can tell you how to lift. That's the door. I think those are the AC people. We're going to do this. I'm going to come back to this and we're going to continue this. Hold on. Okay, I'm back, y'all. In reality, that was like a 45-minute break. But through the magic of editing, it's, a couple seconds. But it is crazy how those guys came like almost on cue. Like I was talking about, skilled labor and all of that, and how I don't know how to do anything. And those guys came like on cue. So anyway, I was talking about stay-at-home dad kind of stuff. Maybe I'll get back to some of that stuff. But another thing I had on this agenda is I was looking at my daughter, her texts. We gave her access to a phone. We're not going to say we gave her a phone. We didn't. But she thinks it's her phone. But it's really a phone for her and her brother to use for certain things, emergencies, things like that. They've always had access to a phone to just surf and, stuff at home. But it's the first time she's had access to texting. And I've noticed that I saw like memes and stuff, and it was like, oh, when your kids stop saying things with that little baby kind of accent and that baby voice and stuff, and then you get sad because they're growing up fast. And this is how I felt when I saw her texts. Like the texts didn't look like the silly kind of baby texts they used to. Now they are very silly, but they're silly in that like middle school way, like Italian brain, right? Like crocodillo, whatever, and all that kind of nonsense. But as far as how they're composed, like they don't have like those weird spaces and weird spelling and grammar that young kids have, that she would have had at like 7 or 8, and it's just like the text look like when adults text, and I'm like, damn, it's just like, man, she's not a baby, the text look like regular text. When I'm texting with her, I feel like I'm just texting with any adult. And so I do little silly things just to bring out that silliness in her, just to feel like I'm still texting my baby, that was crazy. I went school shopping for them, because that's my role now. And I went school shopping, and one of the things I did, I was getting colored pencils, and I was very particular. As I was getting the colored pencils, I was like, okay, it needs to be flesh colors. And for us, that's brown. And I noticed some of them, this was what's that brand? Faber, something like that. They didn't have brown. Some of them, like the one that I wanted to get, that I liked, like it was nice, it was cute, it didn't have brown. And then some of them would, but it only have like, I don't know, weird type of brown that wasn't like, I mean, we come in all types of browns, but there were others that had like 2 different types of nice browns and stuff like that. And I'm just like, because I remember being younger and like flesh colored was peach, and I'm like, most of the world is not that color. But I was annoyed to see that some of the boxes didn't have brown. A lot of things are brown. I was going to take a picture because I was like, y'all not going to believe me. But I don't know, I felt like, brown should be in there. But some of them didn't even have the color black. So, I'm not saying everything is about race, but everything is about race. What else we got here? Oh, um, ending arguments. I saw this post on social media about ending arguments with physical affection, and how good that is, going forward, for the relationship that you're in and for the person and what it does to them and what it does to you. And that is something that we've tried to practice, subconsciously, really. And I was thinking about it. This happened with me and my daughter yesterday. She came home from school. She didn't have the greatest day. She's a preteen, and she snapped at me pretty badly. And I'm a black parent, so you know what I was ready for. I was with the ish, you know. But I'm very patient. I was holding it in. But I did, I had to hit her with the watch who you talking to, fam. Watch who you talking to. And so, but I looked at her and I could tell, like, I knew it wasn't about me. I knew that from the beginning, but I could look at her, I could tell she was sad. She was going through it. She was taking it out on a person who she felt safe with, which was me. And I let her simmer for a while. I let it just kind of go from a boil to a simmer. And then I was like, come here. And she came over and I didn't say anything. I just put my arm around her, joked with her a little bit, kissed her head. And I didn't talk about the situation. I just gave her some affection, some TLC, and some closeness. And that's basically what they were talking about in that kind of thing. This works for, now, when I was reading it, they were talking about marriages or relationships, romantic relationships. And yeah, that is something you definitely need to practice in that case. And I also think it works well for parent-children relationships also. You don't always have to go and break down and process what just happened immediately. You can just let them live, let them chill for a while. Tell them come over, or you go over there, or whatever. Give them a little hug, little kiss. Don't even say anything else, because they know they did something to make you mad, and they don't like how that feels. No matter what you think, it bothers them. So if you can just go and show them, give them a little kiss, hit them a little bit, play with them a little bit. I mean, do much more than that. They realize, you still love them. They're in a safe space. They can transition from feeling angry to, a more even state of mind. So I also believe that this works in a school setting as a teacher. Now, obviously, as a teacher, you can't go around hugging your students. There are some people who can do that. Obviously, I couldn't go around hugging students as a 40-something-year-old male, but what I would do is give them high fives and stuff like that, and closeness in other ways that wouldn't be inappropriate, that may not even involve touch, because a lot of kids don't like that. But with some of them, I know something happened, and instead of trying to reprimand them or even trying to go through the PBIS and the RTI and whatever else you want to call it, I would just kind of let them rock, let them live for a while. And then maybe I'd let them do a simple task that they might be successful in. And then afterwards, give them a 5. Maybe somebody I can joke with. I might squeeze his shoulder a little bit, give them a little hit, something like that. Flick their pencil case, something playful that, that's a little physical, because a lot of kids speak through that physicality. And then they might apologize. Or a lot of times the way kids apologize is they don't apologize straightforward. They don't apologize directly. They may ask to do something for you, help you with something. They might write you, they might draw you something. Maybe they'll draw you, maybe they'll make you a little card or a little origami something. And yeah, those are little ways that you can respond to an argument without having to always go through all of these steps and processes and stuff. Everybody doesn't want to talk about their argument right afterwards, but everybody wants to feel, secure and safe after an argument. So I thought that was good. That was an important thing to read. Something I wanted to share with y'all. Also, so I've been called Unc a million times this summer. I started being called Unc by my kids, of course. I guess it was just a few months ago. I remember I was in my living room, and I was on the floor, and the way I got up off the floor, my daughter, she just looked at me and she was like, "Yo, Unc." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She just looked so like disappointed, or she just like, it just hit her, like the realism of the fact that like I'm getting older and I'm not always Superman, and she was just like, like, it just kind of hit her in her mind where she was like, yeah, this dude is on some old stuff right now. Getting off the floor like I need a forklift, but when you're like getting up off the floor sometimes, especially you a little creaky, maybe you worked out, maybe you haven't been stretching, there's a lot of pops and crackles and snaps and stuff, the whole Rice Krispies going on, so you're getting up off the floor and you're pushing up off of stuff and it's not graceful. You look like Snuffleupagus getting up off the floor, so she's looking at me, she's like, damn, bro, this how we getting up now? This how we getting up and down? This how we moving through life, So she was clowning me. But after that, her and my son will just go in. He's always talking about when I'm born, and the more he learns, the further back it goes. Before it was like, oh, you're born, were you a slave? And it was like, oh, you're born in the Industrial Revolution, and now it's like, I'm a caveman, I knew the Neanderthals, and I've been here since the dinosaurs and stuff, so yeah, all I do is get called old, like 9 hours of the day. If we accumulate all of the time I'm being called old, just Unc and everything else. So I tell him, like Jay-Z said, well, I'm sure he got it from someone, but the first person I heard say it, the only thing worse than getting old is not getting old, and getting older is fine. I always say most people want to go back to their childhood. They say it was the best time of their life. I had a fine childhood. Certain times were better than others, but I had a lot of good memories, had a lot of fun. But I really love being an adult. I think being an adult is better than being a kid. So I don't know, I'm not at that point where getting older is making me go backwards, is making me want to be younger. Certain things, yeah, like you start feeling pains and little, every part of your body, head to toe, something goes wrong, something, every day. That's whack. I would rather that not happen. But all things considered, as I'm still at the point where life is getting better, so I don't wish to be younger. But my name right now is Unc, I guess, so I will embrace that. And let's see if there's anything else we need to talk about. Let's see. I don't know. That's about it, y'all. All right. Rod being Rod, thank you for joining me. I'm gonna see y'all again a little sooner. I'm not gonna wait this long. I'm not gonna wait as long as I did between this and the last video. So we'll talk soon. Peace.